Hello developers, today I'm going to discuss about the mobile development ecosystem and React Native. In here I'm going to deep dive a little bit of deeper how mobile development ecosystem works and what are the available technologies for peak and lot of information and facts, and same time I'm going to deep dive how React Native works. So that will be really important to you to continue this particular series of mobile development with React Native. So take this opportunity to learn as much as possible from this particular episode. Alright, let's jump into it. When it is come to mobile development technologies that you have to pick here, you have heard about a lot of things about native development, hybrid development, and cross-platform development. So. So let me explain you what those really are. So native basically means if it is Android, you natively code using Kotlin or Java using Android IDE, a native application from the scratch. So that is native Android development. The native iOS development means you use Swift UI or Objective-C or kind of a language together with Xcode or using several other tools which supposed to native iOS development. That is basically native development. So you get the real 100% native feeling when you develop application from that particular way. When it's come to hybrid development, hybrid means you use your existing JavaScript or TypeScript or whatever front-end web development expertise to develop mobile applications, and you render that particular application on top of a native shell which is built upon a different framework like Cordova or Ionic. So that is totally a web application you are running on top of a native container. So like IPA file or IPA or APK. So it's a web application. So it's not basically a native mobile application, or it is not exactly rendering any native components when you are running the application on mobile device itself. Cross-platform mobile technologies are basically what are the most trending ones are React Native and Flutter. Why it is called as cross-platform technologies? The reason behind is you write a simple code base which is actually render native components in the mobile device. Even if it's Android, it renders all the native components in Android. If it is iOS application, it actually renders all the iOS components. It's a native feeling. React Native, Flutter, both are the same, but when it comes to Flutter, it's kind of a little bit of different than React Native. That's because Flutter is rendering its own UI components from its engine. So it actually doesn't render native component from its mobile device, whatever the application running. Instead, it actually renders its own mobile UI components in Flutter, but it is so fast and so optimized and so easy to use. And React Native, that is it's almost like a native application. That's because it actually renders native components in the mobile device, mobile OS. So that is basically how the categorizations is. I hope now you have a kind of understanding what is native, what is hybrid, and what is cross-platform. Basically, native means you develop application directly for native devices. In hybrid, you develop application like using your JavaScript knowledge or TypeScript knowledge of web application. You render it in the web view, and you wrap it as a native mobile application. So it's a different representation of a mobile application. In the cross-platform, you write code in different language or JavaScript or TypeScript, but it renders the native components. So that's the differentiation between native, hybrid, and cross-platform. So let me little brief on React Native. So it is one code base. So you write only a one single code base using your existing knowledge of JavaScript or TypeScript, it actually build the iOS or Android mobile application from that. So it is very, you can leverage the web skills what you have right now, and you can quickly start on mobile development. It gets the native feeling. That's because it renders the native components of the native applications, and it is really fast. It is recommended for rapid development and very fast building and deployments. And this have a strong community. React Native totally a product of Facebook, so they have been using this for a long time, and it's open source now. And Flutter also funded by Google, and that's also the same kind of feeling. But right now, like, React Native is the most used technology right now, since it have been using in the industry for a long time. So much of mobile applications are out there already developed using React Native. But when you compare to Flutter, it is now trending, and same time there's so many people adapting to that. But still, you have a lot of opportunities in React Native. What is React Native? How it works? This is a super important topic, and let me explain you. React Native bridges the JS and native modules via the JS bridge. So it have a bridging module where you communicate with the native operating system, and it renders it gives the instructions back and forth to based on the logic of what you have in your application. UI components renders as native widgets. So it's whatever the component you write there, it actually totally converted into a native component. Enables when you are developing using React Native, like, you get hot reloading and fast saturation using this Metro bundle. So developer, there's a Metro bundle server. It is attached to your build, and when you run it, like when you write the code, is automatically build and run. So it's really fast and really easy. So let me simplify the explanation of how React Native functions. When you write your application logic and you are using JavaScript or TypeScript, React.js syntax, when you use components like text, view, images, or etc., you are not directly writing native iOS or Android code. Instead, you are writing declarations that React Native understands. When you build your app for production or even for development with Metro bundle server, all your JavaScript, TypeScript code, along with any imported libraries like React Native itself, it is compiled and minified into a single or multiple JavaScript bundle files. This bundle essentially contains the brain of your application, your logic, the state management, and the instructions for what UI component should be rendered. When you create an APK for Android or IPA for iOS, it's not just your JavaScript bundle. The APK is primarily a native application shell. This shell is minimal native application written in Java, Kotlin, or Objective-C. It's that the container that actually take your bundler when you build. In the native shell, it includes JavaScript engine. For Android, it bundles the JavaScript engine like JavaScript Core or Herms. You have heard of Herms engine, depending on your configurations. For iOS, it uses the built-in JavaScript Core framework. This engine is responsible for executing your JavaScript bundler, and the native shell includes React Native bridge module. This is the crucial part. It's a set of native modules that expose native APIs and UI components to the JavaScript environment. So from this diagram, I think you will be able to understand what I'm talking about. The native shell. So the native shell, when you create the APK for Android or IPA for iOS, it's not just your JavaScript bundle. Other than that, this native shell includes all the native UI components. The actual native UI components are not directly in your JavaScript bundler. They reside within the native operating system libraries. The native shell contains the necessary code to instantiate and manage the native component based on the instruction from your JavaScript layer. So let me explain a little bit of how this communications happens. So basically, when your bundler logic works or executed, it actually passes instructions to the native bridge module. So the native bridge module communicates with the native operating system via the shell. So the operating system, when you get vice versa, the instruction, it actually passes back to a JS bundler. So this particular communication, right, earlier it was happened using asynchronous way, but right now with the latest tech and architecture of React Native, it actually, they have improved it a lot. They have improved it to synchronous communication. Let me talk about a little bit of this native runner or the shell, this outer part of it. That is basically the wrapper or the APK or the IPA. This is the core minimal native and Android or iOS application is written in platform specific language. Kotlin, Android for Kotlin or Java, or for Objective-C, Swift for iOS. And of course, you have heard a lot about the Herms engine. So Herms is the engine. It is based on the configuration that you do in React Native. So it's the JavaScript runner engine that needs to run your JavaScript bundler. So what happens simply, when you write JXX code, so it actually build and minified into a file or a bundler, or one bundler or multiple bundlers, and it actually it actually wrap with the native container or shell, which is actually for Android is APK, or iOS for IPA file, and it actually contains the JavaScript bundler that you basically your JS code, and along with the engine or the engine that you need, that supposed to execute to JavaScript bundler, and of course the native bridge. So this is the bridge where it does all the communication with the operating system, and it actually passes all the instructions back and forth and passes it to the bundler. So that's how totally the React Native works. So I hope you got a good understanding so far how it works. And if there are anything you want me to clarify or something, just add a comment. And please, if you enjoyed this, please make sure to hit the bell and like and subscribe, and make sure to share this with your best friends and colleagues, so they will also get these ideas and this knowledge for their betterment. And thanks for tuning today. I know this is a kind of a lengthier video today, but I hope I managed to give you a lot of information where that is really need you to ace in your interviews, of course. Alright, that's for today, and see you in the next video. Have a nice day, guys.